Thanks for joining us on the NRT Now podcast, part of the largest Christian music site online, newreleasetoday.com. Sit back and relax as we chat with your favorite artists, introduce you to new artists, and more. Now here's your host, Jake.
So we're here with Anna Golden, and I got your last name right this time, Anna.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. We were talking just a second ago that there's been so many variations of your name that you've seen come across with Anna or different variations.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's terrible that I have to be one of the contributing members to this whole thing. As we sent this meeting invite out, I'm starting this podcast episode off with some self-shame here.
No, you're totally fine. The worst case I ever had this happen to me, I was getting a book signed by an author and it was out of print, which means like however many there are, it's whatever. So it's like very few left. I go up to get it signed and he was like, what's your name? I was like, Anna. He was like, Hannah. And I was like, no, Anna. And he was like, Hannah. And I was like, no H. He goes, no H. He writes Hannah with no H at the end. I was like, so you just spelled Hannah wrong. I was like, oh my gosh. And yeah, so that's great. So I have a little book signed to Hannah if anybody would like that.
So if there's any Hannahs listening to this podcast, we have a book for
you. And especially if you don't have an H at the end. Oh my gosh. So funny.
Well, and what's more terrible about this is we've been working on this interview for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
I'd gotten introduced to who you were and kind of got your press kit and all that. So I've been seeing your name for the last 3-4 weeks. And I still, yeah.
It's fine. You know, it creates a good conversation starter, I suppose.
Well, I will not forget it now because
that's great.
I'm a face person, not necessarily a name person. So I remember faces easy.
Same. I'm so bad with names. Honestly, I think it's a downfall of me. So,
but it usually takes some sort of public humiliation like this to remember the name and like to really get it to sink in.
Oh yeah, nothing will burn anything into your brain like embarrassment.
Yes, absolutely. But I will say one of the cool things, having seen all the stuff coming for the last few weeks, it's been really cool as now Peace, the album, came out, I think just a week or so ago from when we're recording this.
Yeah.
Now to see all the people that I follow kind of like through Instagram and all that, a lot of the Christian artists, to just see this come out and it's like, I know about this. I've known about this, and just seeing that support that's come through the industry is really cool to see. And I believe this is your debut album in the Christian space?
Yes, it is. It's my first full length. So I released an EP in like 2016 or something like that. It's been a minute, so it's kind of been a little anticipated too. So it's been so cool just seeing everybody's support. And I was just talking about that yesterday with someone. I was like, well, I guess it was literally last Friday when it was like released. And I was like, in my mind, it's been out for like 3 months. And it's like, no, it's literally been like a week and a half.
But yeah, it's just been so cool. I've seen it through all the stories, through quite a few different artists that have come through.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Tasha Cobbs Leonard is just like over the moon that this is out. She's featured on a couple of the songs here.
Yes, she's the best. So she's everything to me at this point. She's like my godmom, mentor. She's the head of the label of T. Lee Records, which is her imprint label. And I'm her first artist signed to that. So this is the first release under her imprint label as well. And then of course she's featured on Rushing In and The Reprise. So it's been so cool. I mean, of course she's been so supportive, and I just love even like all of her friends supporting her too. Cause like, this isn't just a release for me. Like obviously being under her label, it's been a big deal for her as well. So it's been so cool. It's like been just like a celebration.
We'll touch on how you got connected with Tasha here in a minute, but I kind of want to talk a little bit about your story, which is actually kind of cool. Your story goes through Radio Disney. You know, all your siblings are doing something. Like it's crazy. Just even seeing the brief snapshot of your story is just incredible. So I kind of want to start off with talking a little bit about your siblings. All your siblings are doing something in mostly mainstream.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about you're stuck square in CCM worship album kind of stuff. Can you talk about how that dynamic works between you and your siblings?
You know, I mean, it's really great. We were all raised in church, so they all love what I do so much. And I love what they do. Obviously, they're in mainstream music, so I I support them, whatever they do. I post it on my Instagram. You know, sometimes I get a lot of backlash from my followers, like, why could you post this? I'm like, because they're my sibling. Don't listen to it. Like, if you only listen to Christian music. But yeah, so I mean, it's really cool. Just we're all super creative, and we have our hand in basically what everybody else is doing. I mean, like, we've been just really collaborative since we were really young. So especially my brother Josh and I, like, we'll still hop on each other's stuff all the time. Like, if he needs me to sing on something, I need him to sing on something, or help writing something or producing, anything like that. So it's really cool. Like, we're just very involved. We're a very close-knit family.
I'm sure you and I are not the only ones. Like, my family, all my siblings are completely different. You know, it's kind of a mishmash.
Yeah.
Is that the right thing? Mishmash?
Yeah. Smorgasbord.
Yeah.
So, you know, plethora of people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A plethora. Oh my goodness. Are you a Three Amigos fan like I am? The old school Three Amigos.
Probably not as much as you.
I don't remember the last time I watched it, but I saw it the first time when I was a little kid. And like, it was the funniest thing ever to me.
Oh yeah. See, I was raised very, very, very sheltered when I was younger. So we literally only watched like Jesus of Nazareth and Little House on the Prairie. And then like we started to grow up a little bit. I was like, oh, there's other things out there.
If you haven't seen it, there's this older movie. I think it was like 80s or 90s with Chevy Chase, okay, Martin Short, and Steve Martin. I mean, three legends of comedy. Right there.
Martin Short and Steve Martin just take the cake for me. I love them so much.
And it's like an old school Western / Mexican film.
Okay.
You know, these actors go from Hollywood into what they think is a job. Like, I think it's set in the early 1900s when it's mostly silent film. And so they're all set, and they think they get this audition. Let me step back. These people in a little Mexican village think that these guys are real because, you know, that's on the motion picture and all that kind of stuff. So they write to them. Oh,
that's a great premise. Okay, I gotta see this.
It's amazing. I mean, it's a slapstick comedy the whole way through, but I mean, that's kind of the set. So you have these three Hollywood actors that think they're going for and they actually go into a real
part of their life. That's so funny.
It's hilarious. But where it comes from, you say plethora.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of one of the big things. Is the El Guapo is the villain, and he uses the plethora comes out. There's a line from there. It's like, you know, we have a plethora of piñatas.
Oh, and okay.
His sidekick is like, yeah. Do you even know what a plethora is?
Yeah.
No, El Guapo, no.
It's a vocab word for sure.
I don't know how we turned into old 90s movies here, but
yeah, I mean, you know, I love it. Just follow the conversation there.
Oh yeah, that's right. We were talking about siblings and differences and plethoras and smorgasbords. Yeah. Yes, that's what we're talking about. I love how you guys are able to do that. Like I said, all my siblings are kind of diverse in their thought processes and all that. And I mean, it's so cool that at the end of the day, I mean, through pandemic, all this political season, all this kind of stuff that's happened the last year, we get to still come together as a family. And that's really what's more important than what we're doing or what our views are or anything like that. The family coming back to that core is what's really the most important thing. Totally.
It's really cool. I mean, we're super close. We're very, very close. And the fact that we all are kind of like just a little branch off of what each and every one of us is doing, but it's all in the same vein. So it's really cool just to be collaborative with them. And there's like, I don't know, we're all homeschooled too. So all of my siblings and I were homeschooled growing up, and my dad was a chiropractor, and his practice was actually out of our house. So we were bunkered down, quarantine we've been about this life. So yeah, we're all just mad close. So
with that, I mean, you've been through audition rooms through LA. You've been a part of that whole process. You know, like I said, you had spent your time on Radio Disney for a little while. Yeah, talk a little bit about that process from going from Radio Disney in that mainstream world to kind of settling into the CCM space here.
Yeah, so I mean, since I was a little kid, I was always involved in worship and church. My parents were both worship leaders. And actually, my family was on a mission trip to Kosovo. I believe I was 6 at the time, and all my siblings, I'm the youngest. So my whole entire family was there. And I don't know if you know any of the backstory between like Kosovo and the wars that happened there, and the Serbia, like just a lot of stuff's going on, right? So at that time, there was just so much distress and loss. And we were at a widow's house, and it was her and her daughter, and her husband had gotten killed, and same with their son. And it was just very gruesome and just horrible. And I remember them just telling us this story and just being so just shook it up at 6, obviously, like being exposed to these things. And then I remember my mom went into the young girl's bedroom, and she had a poster of Britney Spears on the wall. And my mom came back out, and she was like, what would you guys do if you had that kind of influence? Like all the way over here in like the most broken town, and like this like little family, and they look to someone like that. Like what kind of impact could you make if you had that influence? And then it was kind of that is when like the turn started to happen for us to be in like mainstream music. Did all of that, and it was incredible. I think, starting anything really young is hard, especially attention when you're young and bits and pieces of fame or success. Like, I understand how people kind of crumble in front of it, to be honest. And I remember being 15 and so many great things happening. I mean, like from the outside looking in, especially like you're in high school, all your friends want to be doing what you're doing. And I just remember feeling like this like crush by all of it. And after one of our concerts, all these little teenage girls coming up to me crying and just sobbing and being like, we love you. And I know that as humans, we were created to worship. And when that's misdirected onto a human being, it just crushes someone. And I think that with worship, it doesn't rise and fall on the leader, and it has nothing to do with you. And all the worship, all the glory, the honor, praise is directed back to God. And I think that that's something that I always found such relief and comfort and peace in. And I just remember being so young, even saying something like this. I was like, it's so funny. Like my mom was probably like, what are you talking about? I was like, I don't want to get all this and then like regret it later. And I don't want to turn out crazy. I don't want to be coked out. Like it was happening to all my peers. And then just going back home, and I was really involved in like a prayer room, and that's what I wanted to do. I don't think that it's outside of my wheelhouse to ever do something like that again, but I think that the Lord really protected me and enabled me to make such a strong decision at such a young age of just making the choice of like, I actually just want to be in the presence of God, and I just want to worship. That was just the focus for me. So yeah, and from there, I just kind of made this agreement with the Lord, because obviously being like a little showbiz kid, doing that since I was a little child, kind of learned how to, have strategic relationships and work a room and network and all that. And I think I was just so grossed out by that at that time of me being in high school. I was like, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, you're going to have to make a way. And I just felt the Lord just be like, as long as you stay at my feet, as long as you be submitted to what I want to say, then I'll promote you. And truly my career has been a testament of that. And I'm a very hard worker. I'm very committed. I love excellence. I put everything into everything that I do, but I'm not a networker. I'm not a strategic relationship person. And I just have seen the Lord just honestly, even like what you were saying about Tasha, like out of the blue one day getting an email from Tasha about being on her Heart, Passion, Pursuit record. And that's how we met. There was never like I need to get in the same room. Like, so it's been really cool that the Lord's been so faithful on that side of things to me. So then, yeah, that's kind of how I'm in worship music. And I love it so much, honestly. Like there's so much beauty that we get to create. The fact that we get to be the leaders and the lyricists of what we're singing back to our creator. I think it's just so beautiful. Like it's such an honor to even be a part of it. The community really.
Well, and I want to touch just a quick second on something that you said that I think is pretty dang good. You're talking about how we're all meant to worship, and when that worship is misdirected. Even in the church, you see pastor worship, or we worship these celebrities, and we wonder why someone like Justin Bieber or Britney Spears or some of these people that have been in the limelight since they were little just go completely bonkers. Or when a pastor fails, see, because they've been worshiped so much. I mean, we kind of wonder why that happens, or we're kind of all surprised. But I think God is the only one who has a capability to handle the worship, the intensity of the worship that we're created to do. I mean, because that's kind of by design a little bit. Yeah. But, when we direct that onto a human, like it just is too much.
Oh yeah, it's crushing. It's very crushing. And I'm not shocked by anything. Like even the way that we give attention to people, and that's human that we would give someone attention because we've received our breakthrough from that vessel, I guess you could say, right? So, I don't think that any of that is necessarily wrong because that's just kind of a human response. Like, you're the one that's in front of me and I want to thank you for taking me to Jesus. I want to thank you for all this. And then it's definitely a posture that you have to remain in of just staying humble and not accepting any of it. But it's hard. And like people are people, and the platform doesn't change it. It just makes it worse. Like, I always say that, like, constantly I have friends who are like, how could a pastor do that? I'm like, they're just you, but with every single temptation surrounding them. Like, it is what it is. It's hard. It's so hard. And I understand it. And I have such grace for that, especially like celebrities that, like, I can't even imagine the attention. I can't even imagine like what's put on you. Like, it has to be so hard. So,
and us as common folk, as I should say, no, just, us, and I know celebrities, people who are in the limelight have to deal with this too, but, we have to be cognizant of where we place our worship.
Yeah.
I think of Pastor, do you remember Mark Driscoll?
A name sounds familiar. I'm not sure though. Remember, I'm a face gal, not a named gal.
He was a huge mega church pastor. Oh, what was the church? He wrote a couple of big books back, and I'm putting myself on the spot and completely coming up blank. I love when I do this to myself.
You're fine.
But there was a lot of stuff that happened around there, and he lost his mega church. He lost kind of a lot of stuff. How much of it is just politics of the church and how much of it wasn't, I'm not entirely sure. But there's a whole lot of stuff that happened around that because so many people put their faith, kind of a little bit of that pastor worship. A lot of people were broken, and with a lot of that kind of stuff, we hear about pastors leaving the church and people are broken because, as people, we put our hope and our kind of that worship in the pastor themselves or, the people that are in front of us, and that's something I think that we all have to be pretty cognizant of, or whether it's a sports star or, whatever it is. Like you said, we are born to worship. We are created to worship. And I think that's something that we've got to be very, very careful about is who do we worship? What do we worship?
Yeah, totally. I've done it all the time. I'm like, I've definitely done that. I've definitely not made that separation before. I think it just comes down to, even as like believers, it's our responsibility to separate God from his people. I often see, which like hurts me to the core of like what you were saying, church hurt when like leaders fall, or like, oh, I guess I don't believe in this anymore, and things like that. And I think it just comes down to a separation from just knowing God for yourself. I always feel like it's very privileged at a young age to just be able to draw that separation. And I admit I'm not always perfect in it by any means at all, but it's just knowing like, hey, that person was just the vessel, and the vessel doesn't taint the oil at all. Like, God is still holy. He's still pure. He's still good and like pure of heart. Like, and people are not. It's just like humans are humans. No matter what, we're going to run into that in church, at Walmart, at the mall. You know what I mean? Like, people are just going to be trash. I've been trash. I'm sure you've been trash. Like, it happens. And it's unfortunate because when we have the privilege of seeing in other people's lives, it's easy to ridicule someone else for something they do because they sin differently than you. But we all are like got our own stuff for sure.
I think we've seen that a lot in the last however many months it's been since, this whole COVID thing started. It's still a recurring theme. It's still a huge part of our lives, but we've seen people trying to put their hope, and their worship in so many people, the political season that we just went through and are still kind of going through and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, it's just so easy to misdirect that. We've watched church leaders, how they handle this or how they don't handle this. And we put our hope in so much of that, what they say, what they didn't say. And because we have that tendency to put that worship in, what's in front of us, like you were saying, the vessel. And
yeah,
I think that's one of the hardest parts of our faith, being Christian, is just being intentional about where we put our worship.
Totally. It's an everyday decision. And I mean, I think of like Romans when it says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's like a daily practice. Yeah. And it's every day waking up and being like, okay, God, I'm giving it to you today. I think that a lot of times when I've been so hurt or damaged by someone because of something they did, I think I saw God through them instead of just going to the Lord, if that makes sense. Like if my revelation is based off of only one person's secondhand revelation, then of course it's going to shatter my world because my relationship with the Lord is built through some other person's eyes. So I think it's just like the responsibility of, I don't know, just going directly to the Lord, if that makes sense. But yeah, we could talk about that for days.
Oh my gosh. I mean, isn't that the thing? I mean, we have it all yelling at us from social media. Everybody hey, if you're a Christian, you're this, or,
oh yeah,
here's my opinion on this. And if you're Christian, this is what you have to believe, or, if you don't believe this, you're not Christian. I mean, like you said, the important thing is going straight to the Lord, going straight to God, listening to that voice, knowing him, not who he is through this politician or this pastor or this friend that I have on Instagram, whatever.
Lord, your Facebook friend.
Exactly.
I haven't been on Facebook in a minute, but I heard it's wild out there.
I have actually found that I deleted my Twitter completely.
Okay.
I've very rarely look at Facebook anymore. Instagram is kind of still my thing, but the good thing about Instagram is like you can really pare down what you actually look at. You can really, which I'm sure is not healthy in some respects, but echo chambers for the win. No, I mean, it's kind of going back to, I've been really intentional. I follow mainly artists, and if there's something that's happening that's not necessarily something that I don't agree with, or maybe not my own opinion, but I still have different opinions that come through. But once it starts getting divisive or planting that flag in the ground, or just like what I was saying, if you don't believe this, then you're not a human being, or you're not American, whatever. It's like you can kind of push that kind of stuff away.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of isms of everything right now, so I can understand for sure. It's different, I think that it's just in times like these, I think we just pull from Jesus. I mean, I think it's funny that the only people that Jesus ever got mad at were the religious leaders. Yeah. And I constantly have to just come to myself and be like, am I being judgmental? Am I being overly religious? Am I like, well, this is what the scripture said. And it was like the fact that the Pharisees would literally bring Jesus the scriptures and be like, well, this is what it says. And he's like, open your eyes, I'm the Son of God. Like it's wild. So I constantly am having that like come to Jesus in my heart of like, okay, am I being like this religious spirit, this like pharisaical mindset?
And it kind of goes back to that daily battle thing.
Yeah, totally.
So let's talk a little bit about, I figure that we should probably at least get to the album at some point in time.
A little bit, maybe.
I mean, I love talking about the Christian side of it, but I mean, we're a music podcast, so it is.
I love it.
So talk about getting on Tasha's imprint and just the process of writing and recording with her and just releasing this album that is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much. Something I really love about Tasha is she, even from the moment we met, she really empowers what the Lord's placed in my heart. So our A&R at Motown was actually saying this the other day. Her name's Monica. She was like, something that I just admire so much about Tasha is Tasha wrote on only one song on the record. And that was pretty much it. And it was like a lot of artists or someone who's launching a new artist would feel like I need to have my hand in every single thing in every single corner. But she really was like, the Lord's put this on your heart and release it. And it was amazing. She supported me and I co-produced the record, wrote on everything, creative directed it, like all of it. And it was just so dope. I mean, the heart behind it, there's two sides. There's the A and B side. The A side is the live side and the B side is a studio, just more creative outlook on a lot of different songs. And what I really wanted to do with this was just to kind of embody a playlist. And I'm maybe not as holy as some, but I don't only listen to worship music all the time. So I wanted an album that was kind of like a one-stop shop, but also was just like really faith-based and encouraging. And that's what I really believe that we did all the songs are rooted and based in peace, which is obviously the title track of the record. Just that, gosh, so much craziness happens at all times. Like the one thing we can count on is literally everything will always be crazy no matter what. But like peace is not situational, it's a promise. And it's just this like everlasting anchor that we can like tie ourselves to. And I think that the Lord took me through a journey over the last few years to really just teach me that. And I don't have it all under control all the time. I definitely still have like moments where I'm like, but I really had to live these songs for the last few years. And I think that that's why I believe in this record so much, because I've seen it change my life personally. I'm the prototype, so I love it. I love it so much. I listen to it every day. I mean, it's cool. I'm really proud of what we made.
So you're the reason why some of these songs have 2 million plays already.
Yeah, it was me. It was me, actually. I'm just having it on repeat when I sleep.
So you're just farming plays on it.
Oh, yeah.
You just have like a bot that
just bots. Can you imagine? Amazing.
Yeah, I was looking at that yesterday, listening through the album yesterday, and like 2 million hits. What song is it? I got to look that up now.
It was probably Peace. Probably the title track.
I think so. It just was like, okay, so that doesn't show it on mobile. That stinks. So much for being prepared.
It doesn't matter. It's all the same.
One of them has 2 million hits on it.
Yeah.
Plays. And it's just amazing how quickly that's blown up. And just that message, just in that piece. I mean, it seems like, in one aspect it's slowing down just because COVID's winding down and all that. But like you said, there's a promise that there's something else around the corner. That's a biblical promise. Something else is around the corner.
Yeah, I think about that all the time. Just like every time something hits, it feels like waves. I remember like that season that I wrote Peace, I just kept giving this picture. I was like, it feels like every time I start to stand up, this huge wave just like knocks me down. And it was like, it's crazy all the parables that we've been taught our entire lives of like, we'll build your house on the rock and not on the sand. And, and we kind of like forget about that. And then we're like being moved by literally every single thing that's going on in life. And I'm like, no, truly, that doesn't have to be the case. I think that's what's so beautiful. It's about the heart of God too. It's like, it's not forceful, it's not pressuring, but it's like, it doesn't have to be the case. You can be secure if you would like, you know what I mean? It's like just such a beautiful spirit and so gentle, and I love it.
Well, we better let you get back. You got to get from 2 million to 3 million.
Yeah, I gotta get all my bots going.
That song isn't going to play itself here.
Amazing.
Hey, I warned you before this started that I am a little bit of a dork, so.
Hey, I loved it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for hanging out with us for this episode of the NRT Now podcast. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And special thanks to Neon Feather for providing our theme music. Make sure to check out newreleasetoday.com and our socials for more great content. See you next episode.